This is a Sony Vaio model VGN-TXN15P laptop computer. Now I actually got this machine from Goodwill for only $15, and it actually didn't work when I got it. Now, when I originally got it, when you plugged it in, it would do absolutely nothing, or at least it appeared to do absolutely nothing. Now I found that that was due to the person who removed the hard drive at Goodwill. Every computer at Goodwill, they have to remove the hard drive for some reason, but I guess it's for like data protection of the previous owner. But yeah, I guess when they had removed the hard drive from this machine, they had forgotten to plug in this whole back strip here, which is the power button and all the status LEDs. So when it was plugged in, without this plugged in, it appeared as if it was completely dead. However, it turns out that after plugging this in, the machine worked just fine. Now that's not all that was wrong with this machine. The hard disk cable that connects the 1.8-inch ZIF parallel ATA hard disk to the motherboard was actually bad. It would, if you moved the drive while the machine was on, it would randomly just shut off and turn back on, and the machine just wouldn't detect the drive at all. So yeah, that drive, or that cable, was bad. So I went ahead and bought one off eBay for about 20 bucks and installed it, and now it works perfectly fine. So now that I've gotten the machine completely working, let's go ahead and give you an overview of the machine. So I guess we'll go ahead and start on the front here. Over on this side we have a Magic Gate, I think that's a Sony proprietary memory card slot there. Underneath that we have a standard SD card slot. Over on this side of the machine we have the Wi-Fi on and off switch right here, as well as the volume mute button, as well as a volume up and down button there. Right here we have a headphone and microphone input jack. So over on this side, and for a machine this small, I'm kind of surprised it has this. As you can see, it has an optical drive. Now this actually, you can see how small the machine is, and the drive actually takes up more than half the machine, which is pretty interesting. I'm surprised they included this drive in the machine, but I guess in 2006, people really still used optical drives a lot, and not having one could be quite inconvenient, even in such a small computer. Right here we have a VGA port, and right here we actually have, it's supposed to have a little antenna here, but it looks like it had broken off. This is actually supposed to be for the cellular antenna. Yes, this machine has a built-in CDMA cellular modem installed. Unfortunately, it only works with Sprint, apparently, and yeah, that's pretty much useless to me because I use Verizon as my cellular carrier. So let's go ahead and flip it over to the back here. As you can see right here, we have the Ethernet port. Right here we have the battery, which actually is still good, surprisingly. Over here we have a 16-volt DC input, as well as a mini Firewire 400 port. And finally on this side we have one USB port there, a PCM CIA slot here, which is quite interesting, especially for such a small computer. Right here we have the CPU heatsink out. This is where all the main CPU fan is, right behind here, and it blows right through there. It's very, very small for a CPU exhaust, but this is a very low power CPU, so I guess it doesn't produce much heat. Underneath this flap we have a 56K modem, as well as a second USB port. Let me go ahead and show you the bottom of the machine. So right into this flap we have the cellular modem. I'm not going to open this because it's really not necessary. And right here we have the cover for the single DDR2 memory module. Now, this only has one slot, but it also has 512 megs of onboard memory. So what I've done is just installed a gig in this slot, and that gives me about 1.5 gigs of memory. So under this little flap we have this interesting looking port. Not exactly sure what this is for, but I'm pretty sure it's for a docking station if I had to guess. However, I haven't really looked or seen this port at all, and I've never really done much research on it as well. So right here we have the information sticker. We can see a date code there, 09-2006. So let's go ahead and flip it over, and I'll go ahead and open the machine. So as you can see, the inside of the machine is pretty cool looking. I mean, the keyboard's silver, it's very compact and very small. So right here we also have a fingerprint reader, which is quite interesting. Right here we have the status LEDs for the various hardware installed to the machine. We have Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, and the WWAN card, which is the cellular modem. Right here we also have a indicator light that tells you when the sound is muted. So there's the keyboard here, and we also have some function buttons up here, as you saw before. Right there's the power button. Right there's the eject button for the optical drive. We have some media controls there. And this one button here is called AV mode. Now, when you're booted into Windows and you press it, you can basically set it to do anything you want, but by default, it's set to open Windows Media Center. So, yeah. And right over here, we have the status LEDs for battery, hard drive, and caps lock, num lock, and scroll lock. So I guess what I'll do now is just go ahead and boot up the machine and show you how it runs. Alright, so let's go ahead and power it up. So you can see it has a cool little boot animation and sound there. And I forgot to mention the display on this machine is actually extremely high resolution, which is pretty cool. Now it is a little bit slow, especially due to the 1.8-inch 4200 RPM ZIF hard drive that's in this machine, but I guess for what it is, it's a pretty decent machine. And just for a comparison here, right here I have an Acer Aspire 1. Now this is just your conventional netbook, and as you can see, you open it, the size is actually almost similar, or almost exactly the same. The Vaio here is just slightly larger than the Acer Aspire 1, and this is your standard Atom N270 base system. So yeah, that's pretty cool, especially for this machine. I'll go over the specs once we boot up, or once we get into Windows. As you can see, it has already booted, and I have set up my fingerprint, so I can just swipe my finger here and log in. Alright, so as you can see, we have successfully logged into the machine. So what I'll do now is just go ahead and open System Properties and show you the specs of the machine. So as you can see there, and the flicker you see is actually not the machine, it's just the camera. I'm not sure why it's doing that. But this machine has an Intel Core Solo CPU. Windows doesn't say that for some reason, it just says genuine Intel CPU. But it is a Core Solo CPU running at 1.2 gigahertz, as you can see. Installed memory 1.5 gigabytes, as I mentioned earlier. Let's go ahead into Device Manager, and I'll show you a little bit more about the system. Alright, so in Device Manager here, you can see it just uses standard Intel GMA 950 graphics. For biometric devices, it uses, I guess it looks to be called a touch chip fingerprint coprocessor. I guess that's just the fingerprint circuitry. Bluetooth, just a Sony Bluetooth adapter. It has a Matsushita DVD. I'm not sure actually what this is. I'm not sure if it can burn DVDs or not, but I haven't really checked that. You can see the IDE controller, the Firewire controller, the PCI, or the memory card controller, the modem. It's an HDA CX11254 soft modem. For network adapters, now for some reason I have noticed that the system does not detect the WWAN card, so I'm not sure if it's something wrong with the card or it's something wrong with the connection to the motherboard, because it does use a ribbon cable, and that might be bad. I'm not sure. So it has an ALPS pointing device. It It has an Intel Pro 100 VM Ethernet connection and an Intel Pro Wireless 3945BG Wi-Fi card. You can see it also has a Texas Instruments PCMCIA adapter, and it just detects the single core of the Intel Core Solo CPU. It also has Realtek high definition audio. So yeah, let's go ahead into the Windows Experience Index. And as you can see, it doesn't get the best score. I mean, the CPU only gets 2.3, the memory 4.3, and the graphics get the worst at 2.2. I mean, I guess for a machine this old and this small, that's not bad, but it is still kinda subpar, I guess you could say. But everything works on this machine except for the WWAN card, which I don't really care about. So let me go ahead and show you what the AV mode button does. So if you press it, just press it once, it says in the taskbar here that the AV mode button was pressed. So if you wait for it to load, it will load Windows Media Center. And there you go. Now you can also change the function of the button by holding it down. It'll beep, and it will then open the AV mode button settings window. Now you can either set it to start the media center, run a specific feature, such as connecting to an external display, as you can see it's listed there, or run a specific application of your choosing. So that's pretty cool. I mean, I don't know how useful that is, but I guess it's a cool little shortcut menu there. Another thing you can do, you can eject the optical drive. See, it ejects right there. These media controls work in pretty much any application. It works in Windows Media Center is what I've tested it in, but I'm assuming it probably works in everything else as well. The volume buttons show a little indicator on the screen, as you can see. The mute button does the same, and also the little LED on the place down here also lights up. So yeah, that's pretty cool. So yeah, overall, the machine works pretty well. It's not, I mean, it's definitely better than the Intel Atom-based Acer Aspire 1. I mean, this thing only has a gig of RAM in it, with one slot and no onboard memory, so it's not the best. Even though this is only a 1.2 GHz processor, it still performs quite well, so yeah, I'm pretty happy about that. And one thing I forgot to show is the resolution of the screen. So as you can see, it's quite high for a screen this small. This is a 11-inch screen, and as you can see, the resolution is 1366 by 768. So that's actually really nice for a screen this small. Everything looks nice and crisp. It's a nice bright, I think it's LED backlit also. Yeah, it's a nice crisp, nice bright LCD. So yeah, this machine is quite fully featured for such a small machine. And funny enough, this machine was actually, when it was new, it actually retailed for over $2,000. So it's a pretty high-end machine. It is a business class machine. Most business class machines have a fingerprint reader and all these features that you see. I guess it was designed for ultra portability for like a business user. So I'll just go ahead and shut it down. As you can see, it just glitches up a little bit there when you shut it down for some reason. But just wait for it to shut down. And that is the Sony Vaio model VGN-TXN15P laptop computer. Hope you enjoyed this video.